soldier belts. It's the next step, right? We made this one. That was pre-Crisis Core. All the old reference we had, we found this pattern online, and we're like, you know, that'll work. Didn't really do too much. Didn't do nearly enough research. This is good, and for the costume, it looked fantastic. Now that I actually have the model, it's a little big. It's supposed to be about that big. So it's not like terrible, but it's noticeable. I have this big chunk. It's half hide. It's a pretty thick. It's probably about 8 to 9 ounce. I don't know. Cut up a couple of squares. And I'm going to laser cut the emblem and then the border around the emblem. So first step, I'm going to bring you over and show you my laser cutter. We don't normally see this side. Well, I mean, you always see it. We don't ever really focus on it. That's what we're going to do today. This is my laser cutter. I also have a Raspberry Pi that runs the whole thing right next to me. It is this one here. Sorry about the mess. It happens. First thing we're going to do, I've emailed these to myself. So a couple of reference shots, which look fantastic. And then the SVG files. So we're going to download all of them. Close that out. Alright, we got all kinds of stuff going on. This is being weird. Got my air assist going. I'm going to pull you forward, show you the inside. That's where all the cool stuff happens. Step one is going to be to line all this up, tape it down. Leather, since it's got a weird bow to it, tape holds it in place. So, hold on. So tape holds this in place, so I don't have to worry about things moving while I'm cutting. And I'm just using standard blue painter's tape. It's not exact. I've given myself a little bit of a room all the way around. In printing, actual printing press terms, it would be a gutter. I should hold everything down. So all the noise, let me show you a couple things. This is my pump. It's got way watered down antifreeze, winter and all that. This is my air assist. It's a motor pump. It's an air pump. It's new. I haven't had a chance to fully set everything up yet. I have a bunch of different little areas I can, zone off, I guess. I'm just going through the one for the nozzle. And what it does is it shoots a puff of air as the laser cuts. It keeps the things from catching on fire. But all this makes a lot of noise. All right, initialize the laser, unlock the rail. That means that I can move it around wherever I want, so I can set the origin point to be at the origin point. Now we're going to open our design file. So all the red, it's a vector cut. If it were black, there'd be a vector or a raster engrave, which means it just goes back and forth. And then a vector engrave is just like vector just means it's going to follow these lines as best it can. So it's not just going to go back and forth like a printer. It's just going to follow everything. It's a pretty cool thing. We'll show you it in a second. It's where the cool or horrible stuff happens. So let's see what we got. So that's pretty neat. I could have used a much smaller piece of leather, but you know. So it did not cut all the way through. It cut most of the way through, which means the utility knife will just trim that up. Go in a touch. I love this thing, but boy is it noisy. The next step is to cut these out with the utility knife the rest of the way, and then cut out the full belt. It's one solid piece and will not fit in my laser cutter, so I'm going to have to do it the old-fashioned way. I've got a piece of lumber under here, so I don't feel like breaking this thing all the way out. Clear off the table, put everything in. I'm just going to use a piece of lumber to cut for it, or to cut on top of. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trace this, the main belt body, cut it out, and then cut all these little pieces out. This is a very sharp utility knife. If you're going to cut, don't cut with something that's not extremely sharp. So this is where we're at. I'm super happy with it. I want these edges to stay nice and crisp, but I want to round over these. I'm going to bevel them with an edge beveler. It's basically just a little knife that rides along the edge of leather, and it just gives it a nice rounded look. And I really like just the subtle roundness that gives. I'm going to do the same thing with this, the big belt, except I want kind of like a groove that looks stitched. And I'm going to get that with this. This is neat. It's got a little slide, and it's like the edge beveler, but it creates a channel. I want it to be right about there. I want it to simulate a stitch line. Pull or push. So it'll create this little bitty groove that'll help add to the fact that it looks stitched. So I'm going to do full length, nice and easy. And I want to do this before I bevel, so it's got a nice sharp edge to run against. So I'm super happy with that. Alright, let's bevel the edge, which will also get rid of the marker. Doesn't matter because it's all going to be dyed black anyway, but still. So now any weird slight wave, this bevel's absolutely going to get rid of. Kind of like how seam allowance hides all our crimes, a good bevel does too. There you go. Look at that. That's pretty alright. So, let's see what everything looks like kind of together. The smart thing to do would have been to etch this symbol onto this piece at like 10%. That had everything lined up perfect. But, you know, I wasn't paying as good attention as I should have. Look at that. That looks fantastic. On to the next step. The next step is to take my scratch awl, which is just a little pointy piece of metal, and outline this first panel. Then I'm going to rough up the leather and glue them together. This stuff, it's contact cement. It's a little potent. Well ventilated area, not good to breathe in. Since it's hard to talk in a mask, I'm going to explain everything I'm about to do. Excuse me, Bernard. I'm going to explain everything I'm about to do, and then I'm going to do it. First thing I did was I roughed it up with 100 grit sandpaper, right where I want to glue. I want to make sure everything is nice and secure. It's kind of cold, so I heated the entire thing up. This is it's warm. It's not hot, but it's warm. So I'm going to apply a thin layer of contact cement on the belt, and then a thin layer on the back. I'm going to let them tack up for about 10 to 15 minutes. It's like I said, it's cold. It may take a little longer. I don't want them to dry. Everybody says dry. Dry isn't the right term. Cure might be, but I want it to get so it's relatively dry to the touch. Then when I put them together, I'm going to hit it with a mallet, because contact cement needs pressure as well to make everything bond properly. So that's where we're at. I'm about to put on a bunch of contact cement, let it dry, put it on, and we'll see where we're at from there. I've been slowly curving it too, just so it's got a nice arc to it. I'm not sure how well it's going to dye with the glue in the way. We're going to find out. Keep in mind, dye dyes things. It's in the name. Be aware of what you're wearing here. I'm going to have it hanging off a little bit here, just because I want it arced. I am dyeing it on a black matte, and I am using black leather dye. So let's see what we get. I've seen this done with airbrushes, where you just dump the dye in the airbrush and you spray the whole thing, which is super neat. I don't have my airbrush set up. So we're dyeing the whole thing. Probably going to bring you over so you get a better view. There we go. A little cozy, just me and you. This may take a couple of coats. I don't know yet. We'll find out. Like with a marker, you have to worry about where things overlap. You know, I should do an entire series like this and then make it for the Muppet. If you don't get that joke, I have other videos that you may want to look at. Some of them are entertaining. Not all of them, but most of them. Now I'm going to get a paintbrush to get in here. I'm probably going to end up doing at least 2 coats on this, because I really want this to look, well, as good as the epaulets do. Got a little foam brush, which barely fits in the bottle, but should be perfect to get in these lines. Oh my goodness, this is turning out way better than I had hoped. I'm excited about this. I don't know about you, but I am excited. This thing is going to look spectacular. So now I've been brushing horizontally the entire time. I'm going to switch and do a couple coats vertically, just to even everything out. Make sure I don't have any weird streaks. I don't know if you can see it or not, but if you look close, there's little bits of a brown that's still exposed. That's where the glue has acted as a mask. So I'm going to take a utility knife, carefully scrape all of those off until it's nice and clean. Masking the whole area and being careful with my my gluing would have helped, but you know, I ain't got that kind of time. So it's always faster to do it twice, right? So after a bunch of scraping, you can really see where the glue was. So I'm going to re-dye that with a new brush. Make sure it's nice and clean. And then we get a large brush and go over everything one more time, nice and even. Because I kind of have some brush strokes I'd like to get rid of. I'm sure the top coat's going to do something for that, but yeah, they are. Who knows? We'll find out. Like I said, I'm going to go over the whole thing again with black dye and then move on to the next step. Alright, now for the decision I've been arguing with myself this whole time. How to close everything off. Alright. So unfortunately, I think I need to use velcro to secure this, because I want the flexibility, you know, in case I happen to expand a bit. So there's 2 parts. This is the part in the back that's going to be, it's going to connect like this. So they're going to overlap. That way the 2 ends can butt together. So since this is facing away, we want, I got 1.5" Velcro. And it's actual Velcro too, by the way. Velcro brand and everything. 1.5" industrial strength. First thing I'm going to do is cut 2 pieces this length. And since this is facing away from the body, I'm using the rough back side. Again, it says it's industrial strength, but we'll see. Hopefully. I'm not a big fan of Velcro on costumes. I'm not a big fan of most things, I guess. But Velcro seems, I don't know, like I couldn't come up with the right solution, so I'm like, what the heck, we'll just use Velcro. But there's no way to put buckles on this, so it is what it is. And then for the other side, I'm going to put probably 3 just shy of the full length. That way I have a bit of flexibility. And since it's a fuzzy side, I don't have to worry about it tearing up my clothes. And these are just getting attached perpendicular to how these are. Not that it really matters, but you know. I'm not attaching the belt loops yet. I want to get the suspenders completely done before I do that. That way, it seems like it's all part and parcel. So I'm going to do 3 per side. There we go. Happy with that. We'll spin it around. Most adhesives need a decent amount of pressure to fully set. That said, I'm not going to hit this with a hammer for a couple seconds. Not a real hammer, that'd be cruel. Rubber mallet. Alright, on to top coat. I have a feeling my top coat went bad. Top coat's reacting weird, so I'm going to use some wax to see if I can get things back to where I want them to be. What I am using is leather salve outer wax. Just want to make sure it's nice and sealed. Don't have to worry about color popping off or anything weird, you know. Like I said, I didn't like how the top coat was reacting. This, on the other hand, working fantastic. And I am super happy with that. Since it's outer wax, I'm going to hit it with the heat gun. I will be right back. It's sitting weird on the mannequin because, you know, it's not me and I kind of sized it for me. But I am super happy with that. It turned out so much nicer. I mean, the foam one's nice. Kim did a fantastic job on it, but this one, I am super, super happy with. That looks great. Easy, quick. Next, we're doing the suspenders. You want to see where that's going to be? You know the drill at this point. So yeah. That's a bit better. I'll see you next time.